great rabbis of yesteryear were on the 28th of Tebet, marks the Hilula of a great Syrian rabbi, Rabbi Avraham Antebi Z'tl. He was born in English year 1765 and passed away in English year 1858. He was approximately around 93 years of age at the time the great rabbi passed away. He was also known as Rabbi Avraham Antebi the Great because he was really great rabbi. He was born, I believe, in Aleppo, Arum Tsova, respectively, in Syria. He would actually learn Torah under the auspices of his father, Rabbi Yitzchak Antebi, who at that point in time was one of the great sages and great rabbis of his generation in of itself. After, I believe, the chief rabbi of Aleppo and a great rabbi who happened to be also the head of the Jewish court, the Ab Bet Din, Hacham Eliyahu Shema Halevi, had passed away. I believe there was unfortunately a plague in the year 1814. Rabbi Avraham Antebi was appointed to serve as the chief rabbi and Ab Bet Din, head of the Jewish court in that city in of itself. He will serve in this position for a staggering 40-year period, and many of the great people of that area in of itself really paid the highest compliments within regards to him. He was given, let's just say, the title, the Rosh al-Aretz Rabbah. Very interesting enough in of itself. That really was a famous rabbi in his time. I think, unfortunately, there was a lot of troubleships. Some of his relatives passed away during this plague that actually was widely reported to have occurred at that point in time, and that I would recommend everyone to learn about that time period in of itself in Italy. And it was tough times during that point in time. It was a period where there was toughness. There let's just say the trade throughout Aleppo in of itself decreased, and there was a dire economic situation in the Ottoman Empire, which was deteriorating in itself. There was a heavy tax burden. The poor was really suffering at that point in time. And Rabbi Avraham Antebi dealt with various different responses, let's just say, in of itself, of how do we distribute taxes in of itself, trade disputes, and other social problems that arose, let's just say, because of the economic situation. He would actually have to grapple with all of that and answer different she'elot in of itself. He made various different takanot, regulations, for the members of his community. And I think there's actually a Torah, colossal, various different Torah books that was actually printed out within regards to various of his response at that point in time. I think there was actually the book in of itself. There was Takanat Rabot Livnei Kihilato, as they say, and it was featured in the book of the Mor V'Ahalot in of itself. Then come what the year 1822, further troubleships arose in Syria in itself, and an earthquake struck in Aleppo, which very much destroyed parts of the city in of itself. I believe it was reported over as many as approximately 1,000 members of the Jewish community lost their lives because of this. Many of the community would flee to the desert in of itself. And obviously there was unfortunately many destroyed homes. They had to set up tents and camped in the desert. And he would actually write and describe, I think, inside a Torah book of himself, the Yoshev or Alim, various different sermons on the Torah, writings in that time period, that Kufa in of itself, within regards to various different writings and quotes of what happened during that period of time itself. I think there was unfortunately a lot of books and Torah books that went missing at that point in time. In 1840, there was a blood libel that actually took place. Let's say the blood libel affair began in Damascus. Well, let's just say I would leave all of you to research on this topic himself. And we spoke about this in the video of Rabbi Yaakov Antebi, which we recorded about 2 years ago and 3 months ago in himself, who he himself, his nephew, Rabbi Yaakov Antebi, was the rabbi of Damascus community at the time. And unfortunately, his nephew was tortured very severely and imprisoned for several months because of his anti-Semitic blood libel. But I'll leave you all to research about that. During his life, he wrote many great Torah works. Only some of it, I think, was printed. And interesting enough, so let's explore some of the books that was actually written in of itself, because it was really great Torah works. Okay, so he was known also, just to add on to it, for the great פיוטים he had within regards to great poems and the song that he was actually bringing about. Two of the books included the Pnei Habayit, which was on the Rashba, if I'm not mistaken, and the second book was on the Bet Yosef, the Mor Ba'aholot, which we spoke about before, which was a Shut, a Shelot and Shuvot. Let's just say the Ohel Yisharim, the Derech Hokir, Chachma Musar, Pnei Ohel Moed, various different drushim, let's just say sermons on the Shabbat of the year in of itself. And there was a book, the Chukei Hanashim, which is Perush on the Even Ezer, respectively, which he would, and we stated about the great פיוטים he would actually write, and the great songs in the various different languages of that specific point in time. And it was, I think, accepted, let's just say, from the whole Jewish congregation in of itself. And I think there was books and songs that was actually, many of it was included in the collection of songs and booklets in of itself. I believe among the well-known poems that he wrote, or the songs, I want to say, were included the Oret Sach Upashut, the Be'em Chacham Levacha Benai in of itself. And very, very interesting enough. I believe at the point in time, he was very close to his son, Rabbi Yitzchak Antebi. And he also happened to be a very great rabbi who we've mentioned about, I believe, on various occasions before. He passed away himself on the 28th of Tevet, I believe in English, 1858 to be precise. I think it was January the 14th this was. And he was buried, I believe, at a point in time in the Jewish cemetery of the righteous Rabbanim in Aram Sova, respectively. He was one of the great rabbis of his generation, Rabbi Avraham Antebi. And I believe we've mentioned about the great rabbi on various occasions before, because we've covered already inside this series about approximately 30 Syrian rabbis, at least at that point in time. Among his rabbis in of itself, he was a Talmid of Rabbi Raphael Shlomo Laniado, who was a great rabbi spoken about before, a judge of that city in of itself, of Syria and of Aleppo, respectively. Obviously, his father, Rabbi Yitzchak Antebi, played a huge role in his life. Remember, he was a great Kabbalist, he was a head rabbi, and he was a judge all throughout, his periods of time in of itself. I recommend everyone to research about his great Svarim that he wrote on Musar, on Halacha, and the great, let's say, Shelot and Shuvot questions that actually came up during his time. I would recommend everyone to look into it. He was also I believe also Rabbi Yehuda, who was, I think his nephew, Rabbi Yehuda Shabtai Raphael, who was another great rabbi, was actually living with him for many, many years. And he himself, his nephew, would move to Tzfat and became known as a great rabbi over there, serving as a rabbi of the Sephardi Kollel in Tzfat. And he himself, his nephew, wrote various different פיוטים, was famous within regards to that in of itself. After Rabbi Antebi passed away, it would be Rabbi Chaim Mordechai Levton who would take his place in the rabbinate as, let's say, the chief rabbi of Aleppo in his place. So wishing you all well. Please subscribe to the channel. We're a community here, and learn more about the great rabbis. Take care.